Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We turn now to Florida, where Republican Governor Ron DeSantis is losing ground as support for his 2024 presidential bid slips to its lowest level this year before next week's Republican debate. Students in Miami returned to school Thursday, one day after a Teach No Lies march to the office of the Miami-Dade County School Board to protest what many call Florida's racist new curriculum standards for teaching Black history. The measure is part of a broader push by DeSantis to root out ideas he says are woke. The new curriculum teaches that some Black people benefited from being enslaved because they learned useful skills. Protesters Wednesday were joined by some members of the Teamsters National Black Caucus, who are holding a conference in Miami, and by Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, who was recently voted back into office after he was expelled, along with Representative Justin Jones, for protesting Republicans' failure to pass gun control laws after the Covenant School mass shooting in Nashville. This is Pearson.
But there were no benefits for people who were enslaved. Being raped, having your children stolen from you, being maimed, being denied the right to read. Those were not benefits for our ancestors.
The Florida Education Association, a teachers union representing about 150,000 teachers, called the new standards, quote, a disservice to Florida students and are a big step backward for a state that has required teaching African American history since 1994. For more, we're joined by Marvin Dunn, who helped organize Wednesday's protest, has been leading Teach No Lies tours that take teachers and young people to places like Rosewood, Florida, the site of a 1923 massacre of Black residents at the hands of a white mob that murdered at least 6 Black residents, forced the rest of the town to flee. Many eyewitnesses said the true death toll was far higher. The violence began when a white woman falsely accused a Black man of assault. By the time the massacre ended, every building in Rosewood except one had burned down. No law enforcement agency investigated the massacre. No one was ever charged with crimes. Marvin Dunn is a professor emeritus at Florida International University, author of numerous books, including The History of Florida Through Black Eyes. In the book, he writes, almost all of Florida's painful racial past has been whitewashed, marginalized, or buried intentionally. But I was born here. I know Florida's flowers and her warts, he writes. Professor Dunn is also co-founder of the Miami Center for Racial Justice. Welcome to Democracy Now!, Professor. You were one of those who led that march this week, right before kids go back to school. Talk about the new curriculum that Governor DeSantis, presidential candidate DeSantis, is pushing, and that the teachers are forced to teach.
Well, first, thank you very much for having me on. It is a disaster. It cannot be implemented. The state threw out some standards without connecting them to any courses, so teachers in Florida don't know how to implement this law. We are now in a confused, demoralized state of education in Florida. This man has, I think, done the most damage to education in this state that I could imagine. We're trying to figure out what to do next in order to have teachers not arrested for not implementing these standards. We're trying to get clarification from the Department of Education. They do not respond. So basically, it's just a mess in Florida.
You are doing something very unusual. You are taking people to sites of massacres, and you are teaching on the ground. Talk about what you're teaching and how these stories are changed. For example, with the curriculum saying you have to talk about how slavery actually benefited the enslaved.
Well, we're still trying to figure out how slaves had personal benefits when they were not even considered to be persons. They were property. How could a chair or a cow have personal benefits? This is what has enraged Black America, and a lot of white people as well. The very idea of trying to suggest or having teachers teach that enslaved people had some benefit from being enslaved. Even if the 1% of the enslaved who were freed had some marketable skill, what about the 99% who basically had no skills at all? What about the millions of slaves who died before emancipation? What personal benefit did they receive? What DeSantis is trying to do with this issue and others is to equivocate evil. Everybody was doing slavery. Every country had slavery. Slavery was in Africa. It was in China. It was in Asia. Teachers are required to teach that as a part of the Black History course. Why? Why does he want teachers to teach about slavery in these other places? Because the argument is America was just another country that had slavery, no different from anybody else. But America was different. America was the only country that had slavery in which the enslaved were not people, but property. That was a unique American contribution to slavery. So we're trying to correct these lies. We're trying to make sure that teachers are not teaching these lies, but it is an uphill struggle here in Florida.
Professor Dunn, on Sunday, you posted a photo on social media of yourself posing with your fist in the air in front of your Rosewood neighbor's Confederate flag. You wrote, quote, "In Rosewood today, in front of my neighbor's property, he just got convicted of 6 counts of hate crimes from when he tried to kill me and a group that was visiting my property. He was mad because we parked on his side of the road. I was standing on his side of the road today," you wrote. Can you describe this attack, what happened to you, your son, and others?
Certainly. I'm the only person, a Black person, who owns land in Rosewood today. All of the Black people.
We begin today's show